Okay, ladies, so we've used the term half space, and I just want to go over that information with you so it makes it a little bit more clear, because we know that our 7 and 11 are going to be playing a lot in that space in the starting position, and I want to show you the advantages of how we can utilize that space to make sure that we are effective going forward. Okay, so we're the team in yellow, and I want to explain why they call it the half space. You'll see a center line down the middle between the 6-yard lines, and that is the central space. And then obviously the two lines on the very outside of the outside space. And then in between those two lines, just approximately between the 6 and the 18, is what we would consider the half space. Okay, so why would we want to play in the half space? Well, the most dangerous area to play the ball would be down that central zone between 4 and 11. It is important to sit players in the half space because they can play multi-directionally. So if you look at 7 and 11, they can play down to that wide zone behind them or in front. They can play into 9. They can play into 5. They can play back into 6 and 8. And they can also play diagonally in behind. So they can play in multiple directions. If 7 and 11 had to move into the wide zone, there are only certain directions that they can play now, because their backs are against the line. So it limits the number of ways they can play. This means that it makes it easier for defenders. Okay, so what are some of the other reasons that we play in the half spaces? The first reason is that if players receive the ball in that half space, they can possibly draw players out from that central zone, which would then create more space to play the ball down the middle. They can also make runs out of that half space to draw players in towards them that would possibly open up another space for a player to move in. The final thing that the half space does is that when players receive the ball in that half space, they're usually on the half turn, and so they're facing towards the goal as opposed with their back to goal if they're receiving it in the central zone. Okay, so it's important to understand that we don't only want to play in the central and half space zones. We want to create that half space zone to allow us to be able to create overloads down those flanks, to be able to switch the play quicker into possibly the other half space zone or down the center of the park into an area where 4 and 11 are, where it is the most danger to go to goal. Everybody needs to understand that anybody can play in that half space. 6 and 8 can move into the half space. 4 can move into the half space. Anybody can move anywhere on this pitch. These are merely guidelines and ideas of what is going to create more effectiveness going forward.